الحمد لله الذي كتب الآثار ونسخ الآجال. القلوب عنده مفضية والسر عنده علانية. الحلال ما أحل والحرام ما حرم. الدين ما شرع والأمر ما قضى. الخلق خلقه والأمر أمره، وهو الله الرؤوف الرحيم. وصلى الله تبارك وتعالى على النبي الأمين سيدنا محمد خاتم النبيين وسيد المرسلين، وعلى آله الطاهرين وأصحابه الغر المحجلين. ما اتصلت عين بنظر ووعت أذن بخبر، وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا. أما بعد، فيقول الله تعالى: يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. وقال عز وجل من قائل: يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم، ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. وقال عليه الصلاة والسلام: حفت الجنة بالمكاره وحفت النار بالشهوات. وفي رواية: حجبت الجنة بالمكاره وحجبت النار بالشهوات، أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. Dear brothers and sisters, we start by praising Allah Ta'ala. We praise Him and call Him by His names, and we praise His every attribute, and we ask Him for His forgiveness and acceptance in this blessed day of Jumu'ah. We ask Him that He send His blessings and salutations upon our beloved messenger and his beloved Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam, and upon his pure household and his companions and his ummah at large. Dear brothers and sisters, it is from the known masnoon dua of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam that he said: Allahumma arini al-haqqa haqqa warzuqni ittiba'ah. Oh Allah, show me the truth in the form of the truth, as the truth, and grant me the ability to follow it. وَأَرِنِ الْبَاطِلَ بَاطِلًا, and show me falsehood as falsehood, and grant me the ability to stay far from it. وَارْزُقْنِ اجْتِنَابًا, the ability to stay far from it. And it's from His words: O Allah, أَرِنِ الْأَشْيَاءَ كَمَا هِيَ, show me things as they are within their reality, by their mahiyya, as their essence, by their core. What are they in reality? Show me things as they are. And what this refers to, it has to do with the idea of truth and certitude. That grant me yaqeen, grant me certitude, to be certain, certainty, and to place that certainty in the place that it is worthy. So certainty of the truth. This is what Iman and Yaqeen is. The foundation upon which rests all of Islam. Certainty. Certainty in Allah. Certainty in the angels. Certainty in the books. Certainty in the messengers. The foundation of it all is certainty. As one of the scholars, he mentions that when even the smallest particle of certainty enters one's heart, it fills the heart with light and expels whatever doubt is there in it. When certainty enters the heart, like when light, the scholars give the example, when light enters a building, enters a vessel, it doesn't leave room for darkness. When certainty enters the heart, it doesn't leave room for doubt. And consequently, then the heart becomes filled with gratitude and fear of Allah. That when that certainty places itself in the heart of Allah, then a person doesn't need to see Jannah or Jahannam, but the yaqeen is strong enough that he knows it's there. As Ali radiallahu anhu said, that لو كشف الغطاء مزددت يقينا, that if the veil had been lifted between me and the heavens, between me and the fire, I wouldn't have increased in my certainty. What does this refer to? My certainty is already at the level, it is as if I have seen and experienced everything. I have already experienced through the Quran, through the truthful words, hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what Jannah is, what the fire is. I have truthfully known about these matters. This is yaqeen, certainty. as we come more near to the times of Hajj as well, we remember Ibrahim ﷺ and the different stories of certainty that Allah Ta'ala tells us about him. How Ibrahim ﷺ was blessed with certainty, the blessing of certainty, yaqeen. Ibrahim ﷺ. And what is the vision of this? To see things as their reality, to see things as their truth. There's so much depth to this. Part of it being to see things which are temporary as temporary, and then to see things which are everlasting, to acknowledge them as everlasting. When Ibrahim ﷺ looked in the skies and he saw the stars and the people were around him, and what did he say? That perhaps this is my Lord. And he did not mean this in his heart. Rather, he was striking a question amongst the people around him. That perhaps this is the Lord because of how great it is. Al-Ajramu Samawiyah. The celestial beings, how great they are. Perhaps this is the Lord. When it vanished, it disappeared. Ibrahim ﷺ said, this cannot be my Lord because my Lord does not disappear. Many things disappear. Many things disappear. And in fact, we don't see the Lord. We don't believe in the Lord through sight or through vision or through hearing. That's not the channel by which we believe in the Lord. But he's pointing to something here. Things which are temporary. Don't have yaqeen in those things. The first thing that a person should place his yaqeen in is Allah. Is that being. He sees the moon. Perhaps this is the Lord. This is even greater. This is even greater. The moon vanishes, it disappears. Then he sees the sun. This is Hada Akbar. This is the greatest of them all. This has to be the Lord. The sun also disappears. He says, if Allah Ta'ala does not guide me, I will surely not be able to find the right path. And he says, Inni wajjahtu wajhi, that I direct my direction. I direct my face, my direction, my body and my spiritual self, my spiritual heart, the qibla of my heart, I direct it to Allah, the one who created the skies and the earth. The one who created the skies and the earth. One of the scholars, he gives a very beautiful story regarding this idea of understanding what is permanent versus what is temporary, and what deserves that we assign our loyalty to that being, our love to that being, our yaqeen and certainty to that being. He says there was a king. This king had a person in his kingdom who would tell all kinds of stories. This is a part of the history. The kings of the past, they would have poets sit by them. They would have storytellers sit by them. That besides the time that they're seriously spending in planning the time of their kingdom, they also have time for recreation. They have time to relieve their stress. So this person would come and he would sit with the king. He would tell him stories. He would make him laugh. And he was a very intelligent person. For about a week or a week and a half, he didn't show up. And the king said, where's this person? I want him to be next to me. I want him to talk to me. I want his company. Where is he? He sent his army. The army went, they looked around. They saw a little garden. And they saw that underneath the tree he was laying there. They said, okay, finally we found him. They went, he was sleeping. And they woke him up. When he woke up, he looked stressed. He looked anxious and he was angry. Why did you wake me up? Why did you wake me up? And then all the way back, they said that the king is summoning you. And all the way back to the journey, then he gave the army people, he gave them a very difficult time. Stop here, I need to use the restroom. Stop here, I'm hungry. Stop here, I want to rest. And then when he made his way to the king asked him, where have you been? Where were you? He said that, oh king, I was resting and I was having the best sleep ever. I was sleeping under a tree, I was in peace, I was perfectly fine. And then you sent your people. You sent your people and they came and they woke me up. He said, what was so good about your sleep? The king asked him. He says, I was having a beautiful dream. In that dream, I saw that I was a king. And I had a kingdom. And I had a castle. And the people of the civilians of my town They carried my banner. The army, the people of the army, the soldiers, they carried my flag and my banner, and they chanted my slogan. And then, all of a sudden, I woke up from this dream. It was such a beautiful dream. So the king says, well, it was just a dream. It was just a dream. He says to the king, O king, in reality, that was my kingdom. And what happened? It was just about me opening my eyes and my kingdom disappeared. The only difference between you and I is I opened my eyes and my kingdom disappeared. You will close your eyes and your kingdom will disappear. The difference is that you summon me. You're just a king who only knows my external matters. You will be summoned in front of a king, the king of all kings, who knows even what's in your heart. I had the chance that when I was using the restroom, when I was in the restaurant, wherever I was, I could have snuck out and I could have left the soldiers. When you will be summoned in front of Allah, you cannot move an inch without His permission. Such a reality He just told the king. A reality. This is light which Allah Ta'ala sheds upon the heart of a person, by which they see things that other people cannot see. What did the Messenger of Allah say? That fear or protect yourself from the insight, intuition, vision of the believer. Why? Because the believer sees with the nur, the light of Allah. He sees that which others cannot see with their naked eye. Allah Ta'ala opens their vision. But one of the scholars, Sahel ibn Abdullah, he said, but when the heart finds solace in something other than Allah, it is barred from smelling the fragrance of certainty. When a person assigns their love, assigns their loyalty to anything besides Allah, then they won't be able to smell this fragrance. What it means to see reality, what it means to hold certainty in your heart, which is the foundation, the foundation of everything else. To be certain about matters. And you know, when we think about the nations of the past, we think that the idolatry that they fell in, it was something would never fall in. This is how we think of it. When Allah Ta'ala describes to us what their idolatry was, He explains to us exactly what this phenomenon, what this reality was of idolatry. It wasn't just figures and they bowed down to those figures. That's not what this idolatry was. So many times in the Quran, what does He explain it as? In hiya illa asma'un sammaytumuha. This is an idea that they carry. That they created these names, these ideologies, these philosophies, and then they assigned it and attributed it to places and beings that were not worthy of it. That were not worthy of it. What does Imam Zayd Sharief say? We think the idols of the mushrikun were dangerous. Nothing is more dangerous than the idol of ana, I. Nothing is more dangerous than the idol of myself. As it comes in hadith, the Messenger of Allah, he said, Al-hawa ilahun yu'bad. One's carnal desire of their nafs. It is a Lord which is worshipped. It is an idol within itself. Ibrahim ﷺ said to the people, are you going to take an idol as your Lord? An idol as your Lord? And those people, what are they're doing? They're caging themselves to that idolatry, that idea. Today, in the vision of enlightenment, or in the vision of liberty and freedom, people are encaging themselves. The freedom of Islam is a lot different. Hurriya, the freedom of Islam is what? In serving Allah and being His servant, you will find certainty. That certainty will relieve you from the deceptions of this life. And then you won't be deceived. A true person who owns his life, his matter, his direction, is a person who knows his reality, knows himself, knows where his direction is headed towards, knows the reality of this world, knows where to place hope and love versus not where to place hope and love. Ibrahim ﷺ said to his people, are you going to take idols, asnam and aliha, as lords? They're just names you are assigning to these beings. Just names, just ideas. These are just ideas you're creating from yourself. The Prophet ﷺ, what did he say? مَا عُبِدَ إِلَهٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ أَبْغَضُ إِلَى اللَّهِ مِنَ الْهَوَى. There is no Lord worshipped on the face of this earth more disliked by Allah than the hawa. What did the Messenger of Allah ﷺ say? We think we're free from this idea. What did he say? I don't even fear that you're going to fall into shirk again. And another hadith says, أَيِّسَ الشَّيْطَانِ. Even shaitan has lost hope that you'll fall into the shirk of the people before you. That you'll fall into worshipping him, worshipping idols. Rather, what will you fall into? You will fall into a different idolatry, a different form of worship, a different form of commitment. Tanafus. You'll compete with one another. You'll become slaves, abdul dinari wa dirham, slaves of the dinar and the dirham, slaves of wealth. That's the idolatry of today. The idolatry of serving the desires of yourself, no matter what bounds it breaks. No matter what bounds it breaks. What was I saying in the beginning? Certainty in Allah and in the deen, it's the foundation of Islam. When that certainty is gone, then you can't be certain about anything. Because there's nothing more real than the haqq, than Allah, than the real. There's nothing more haqq than Allah Himself. What happens if you lose belief in that? If that fades away, it becomes a mirage. Then slowly you disbelieve in the hereafter. What happens when you disbelieve in the hereafter? Then slowly you disbelieve in the nature of this world, that it is temporary. When you disbelieve in that, then what happens? There's no consequences to your actions. When there's no consequences to your actions, then do what makes you happy. Do what makes you happy. There are no moral repercussions. There's no moral guide. The moral guide is myself. It's ana, my desires. And examples, at the time of Ibrahim ﷺ, who was another prophet, Lut alayhi salam. We know the fitna of the people of Lut. But it's not just, don't just think about that fitna in specific. What was their approach to this? How did they face that fitna? This tells us about society, how morals are built within society. And then how, if your vision of life and your vision of morality is different than society, are you going to be brainwashed? Or will you steadfast to certainty, the truth? The people of Lut ﷺ, they fell into a fitna where they fell in love with the same gender. And they saw that there's no harm in this. What is wrong with this? And rather, not what is wrong with this, rather than they attacked Lut ﷺ morally, they tried to debate him. They said, you're wrong. What's wrong with these people? إِنَّهُمْ أُنَاسٌ يَتَطَهَّرُونَ. Why are these people trying to be so clean? Do you see how, think about it, a moral like cleanliness, can anyone differ over it? They just turned a moral like cleanliness into something wrong. This is the reality of turning the truth into falsehood. And turning falsehood into the truth. This is that example. إِنَّهُمْ أُنَاسٌ يَتَطَهَّرُونَ. They're people, they like to be clean. Why do they like to be clean? The Messenger of Allah said that tahara, the cleanliness, and he gave examples, 7 different things, they're from nature. But then what happens? When you forget Allah, you don't have certainty in Allah. Rather, your certainty is in your desires and quenching the thirst of yourself, and answering the call of ana, answering the call of myself. Then what happens? That person forgets Allah, the only thing he sees is himself. When he forgets Allah, Allah Ta'ala makes him forget himself. You forget your own human nature. You forget your own reality. Things which no one would differ over. No one would differ over. Things like that. A person will have moral blindness. Moral blindness. Why? Because the certainty is gone. The certainty is gone. One of the scholars, he sums it very well in a statement. He says that yaqeen, certainty, it prompts the servant to cut short his hopes in the dunya. It makes a person lose hopes in the reality of this dunya. Why? Because it is temporary. It cannot suffice my needs. As it comes in a hadith, that the people who, The Messenger of Allah said that those people are misguided, those people who believe that they can find peace in the displeasure of Allah. They can find peace in the displeasure of Allah. People of certainty, yaqeen, they realize that it's everything I'm experiencing right now, this is actually the shadow that will vanish. And what seems to be the shadow, that maut, death, hereafter, that's more real than this shadow. This is just a shadow. As the Messenger of Allah said, this dunya is like a shadow. A dhil, a shadow. It prompts a person, it encourages a person to cut his hopes in dunya short. Then that will prompt a person to renunciation. That they leave dunya, they reject it. They know that it's not a place which will suffice their needs. It is not the place, their final abode. Then that will produce wisdom. And then wisdom will produce the desire in them to ponder upon the hereafter. Then they will think more about the hereafter. When they have certainty. This is yaqeen. This is certainty. As like the example I gave of the king and that servant, that he saw and gave a beautiful analogy of what reality is versus what a person who thinks reality is. That I think this is my life, I think this is my kingdom, it will never vanish, it will never disappear. Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, the Anbiya, the people of wisdom, the people of piety, they saw the realities of these things. That's what it means to see truth as the truth and then to follow that path. Look at the Sahaba radiallahu anhum. Examples of the Sahaba are beautiful. Allah Ta'ala in the Quran named Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam Siddiq. The Prophet ﷺ named Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu Siddiq. Why? What is Siddiq? What does it mean to be Siddiq? It means that a person's nature, it inclines to the truth. Their heart only opens to the truth. They hear the truth and they accept the truth. And they say the truth. Their life revolves around the truth. And they're able to see the falsity of falsehood. What did the Messenger of Allah ﷺ say about why is Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu have such a rank? Why does he have such a rank above many of the other Sahaba? What did he say? He said, مَا فَاقَكُمْ أَوْ مَا سَبَقَكُمْ. He didn't go ahead of you, O Sahaba, بِكَثْرَةِ صَلَاةٍ أَوْ صِيَامٍ, with the abundance of praying or fasting. That holds its place. But what did the Messenger of Allah ﷺ say? وَلَكِنْ لِسِرٍ وَقَرَ فِي قَلْبِهِ أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. But because of a secret which became firmly placed within his heart. Why did he call it a secret? We know what it is. Why did he call it a secret? Because what's in the heart is like a secret. No one can see it. You think Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, which the Messenger of Allah ﷺ said, that no one has favored me more in his wealth and his companionship than Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. That perhaps it was because of his wealth. Perhaps it was because of his struggle. But no, it was because of yaqeen, certainty, which manifested in his heart. That certainty made it easy for him that he could give all his wealth and say, O Messenger of Allah, I left Allah and His Rasul at home. I gave everything. It was certainty that prompted him to do that. Certainty. Siddiq. It was certainty that in the battle of Uhud, look at the vision of the Sahaba. Look at the vision of the Sahaba. Anas ibn Nadr radiallahu anhu, he says that I was very sad I could not accompany the Prophet ﷺ in the battle of Badr. But now I am here in the battle of Uhud, and I will show Allah Ta'ala how I will fight in this battle. And then he saw Sa'ad ibn Mu'adh radiallahu anhu. He said, "Oh Sa'ad, where do we go? Where is the battlefield? Take me there." Sa'ad ibn Mu'adh, what did he say? He didn't say go to Uhud, go to the mountain, let's go together. You know what he said? He said, "Inni la'ajidu rihal jannati duna Uhud." That I am finding the fragrance of Jannah in front of the mountains of Uhud. How did they find this fragrance? How did they see this? How did Allah Ta'ala open these doors to them? It was because of certainty. Certainty. For example, in the battle of Muttaqeen, When the Sahaba radiallahu anhum were facing the Romans, the Messenger of Allah was in Medina Munawwara. Abdullah bin Rawaha was made to be the general of the army. And he said to them, they said to Abdullah bin Rawaha, "Oh Abdullah, we are here, we're about 3,000, but they're 200,000. Maybe we should message the Messenger of Allah, send him a message that we need more reinforcements." He said to them, "What are you afraid of? Exactly what you're disliking right now is what you came for. Shahada. That's what you came for. That's what you're here for. And that it is the fragrances of Jannah that we'll find in the battlefields." And then the Sahaba, they sung poetry to each other. They sung poetry to each other. Abdullah bin Rawaha was the first to go into battle. He went into battle, he became shaheed. The flag then went to Ja'far radiallahu anhu. When he carried the flag, he said, "Ya nafs, illa tuqtali tamuti." "Oh my nafs, if you do not," and this is very important to speak to your nafs, that if you will not lose your life now, you'll die one day. Why do I see you disliking Jannah? Why do I see you disliking Jannah? And then he was also martyred. And then the flag went on to Zayd bin Haritha radiallahu anhu. And then what did he say? That I see the paradise, and I see its nearness, iqtirabuha. I see that Jannah has made its way near to me. طَيِّبَةً وَبَارِدٌ شَرَابُهَا. Pure, and its drinks are cold awaiting me. How did they have this certainty? This, my brothers and sisters, goes back to the effort that a person makes on their nafs. The nafs is the lens by which we see the world. The more pure that lens is, the more pure reality will appear to us. And I'll conclude with a short poem, a very beautiful poem. One of the scholars, he says, that the glass is an example, a lesson for the one who is seeing. And so use that glass to see the Lord, to see Allah Ta'ala, to gain certainty of the Lord. And then pay attention to the beings around you. Those things the beings will appear around you in beauty and in their diversity. But they will appear to you in green or in red or in blue. And that color or that appearance may be opposite to what they in reality are. What is he saying? The example of the glass. If you stain the glass green, everything behind it is green. If you stain the glass red, everything behind it is red. So likewise is the dunya and everything inside of it. فَلَا يَغْتَرَّ رَائِمْ بِالَّذِي هُوَ رَائِمْ. And so no person who is seeing should be deceived by what he is seeing. And remember, سِرُّ التَّلَوُّنِ فِي الزُّجَاجَةِ فَاعْتَبِرْ. That the secret of the color, it's coming from the glass. And so consider in place of that glass, your nafs. Then your nafs, that's how you're going to interpret this world. And this helps us in many things. Our relationship with Allah and our relationship with people as well. When we have a situation with people, we have a problem with people, remember it's not just the situation, it's also how you interpret it. It's also how your nafs will approach it. And that at many times is the greatest, that's the greatest barrier or the greatest reason for problems to occur. And so he says that the nufus, the selves, those are like the glasses. And so clean and purify yourselves. This is the journey of tazkiyatun nafs, purifying oneself. And when one purifies himself, Allah Ta'ala frees him from the shackles of being a servant to himself and being a true servant to Allah. And then Allah Ta'ala sheds His light onto him. That light which Allah Ta'ala said, وَمَنْ لَمْ يَجْعَلِ اللَّهُ لَهُ نُورًا فَمَا لَهُ مِن نُورٍ. The person who Allah Ta'ala does not create light for, that person will never have light. That person will never see the truth. He will never be able to decipher in the confusion of today and modernity and everything we see, what is true, what is right, what is morally wrong. So my brothers and sisters, we ask Allah Ta'ala that He give us the ability to purify ourselves and to rectify iman and beautify it within our hearts, and that He show us the truth as the truth and give us the ability to follow it, and that He show us falsehood as falsehood and give us the ability to protect ourselves from it. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا ونبينا محمدا عبده ورسوله. عباد الله، إن الله قد أمركم بأمر بدأ فيه بنفسه وثنى به الملائكة المسبحة بقدسه وثلث بكم أيها المؤمنون حيث قال: إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد بعدد من صلى وصام. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد بعدد من قعد وقام. وصل على جميع الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى الملائكة المقربين وعلى عباد الله الصالحين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين، اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين، اللهم انصرهم في كل أرضك يا رب العالمين. عباد الله، إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. ولذكر الله تعالى أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون. أقم الصلاة.